Thank you, Pierre. Got a new song out. It's kind of really popular with the Memorial Weekend here. It's called This Flag by Chris Jansen.
It stood proud on the bulge, flew across the Delaware. It's earned every scar and still flying everywhere. It's been kicked and it's been cussed. It's been burned out in the street, but it never would give up, 'cause no, it just can't be beat. It's folded on the mantle, hanging out there on the porch. It's high in New York City and on the country store. It stands for what's right. It stands for the free. It stands for every small town kid who ever had a dream. All the ones who left their homes and never made it back. That's why I stand for this flag.
Yeah, I figure it's better than Lee Greenwood. I'm burned out on God Bless the USA. Good morning, everybody. It's free for all Friday. Janie Ruddy, good to have you in the studio.
Great to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about the schools and education. Also, we have our new Chamber of Commerce, our crew in here, our president and CEO, John Phillips. Good morning.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, David. Appreciate the opportunity.
And you brought your sidekick, your co-pilot, your lieutenant, Kelsey Lombard. Good morning, Kelsey.
Hi, good morning. Happy to be here.
Okay, get real close to the microphone. Talk right into the end of them there and save us. And, of course, Brian McMillan, editor, Palm Coast Observer.
Happy to be here, David.
And our reporter in Tallahassee, Sam Greco, to make sense out of what's going on. Our state representative serving us well there. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, David. Good morning, everyone.
Well, I'm trying to follow this, and it is totally unlike last year and the year before. It seems that the governor is at odds with the Senate at odds with the House at odds with DeSantis, and we're looking at a possible shutdown July 1st if you guys can't come to an agreement. So I'll throw it to you, Sam Greco. Take it from there.
Well, I think that July 1st is still a ways away, and there are ongoing conversations and a lot of hard negotiations going on, and I'm very optimistic that we will not be in that position. And certainly that's not an outcome anybody wants to see, but we're having a worthwhile discussion about the best way to spend taxpayer dollars and the best way to bring in taxpayer dollars to make sure that we're not bringing in more than we need to be able to do the jobs that we need to do effectively. So, is this different than the last few years? Yes. Is it unprecedented in history? No, it's not. And I'm confident that we're going to land the plane, but it's going to take just a little bit more time and discussion.
So, I mean, fundamentally, it looked as at the Senate President Albritton had an agreement with Perez, at least on the top line, and then that got kind of blown apart by the governor, who's pretty adamant about wanting property taxes slashed and cut and everything, and that kind of puts you guys back to not necessarily square one, but so how do you make everybody happy is the bottom line. I don't see the path for that.
Well, first of all, I think it's important to note that the conversation on cutting sales tax and the conversation on cutting property tax are not necessarily correlated. Sales tax is one of the key revenue drivers for our state budget. Property tax is the key revenue driver for our counties and cities. We certainly want to make sure that we are returning dollars and leaving dollars in the pockets of taxpayers everywhere, whenever those dollars are not are superfluous and being used simply because we have them, not because we need them. But the conversations, while they're all happening at the same time, they're not necessarily tied together. And regarding property tax reduction, the Constitution limits to a large degree what the legislature can do with respect to property taxes. And as a result, the key thing that we can do in the legislature in the realm of property tax is place ballot amendments on the ballot in November of 2026 for the voters to consider to amend the Constitution and curtail or reduce or otherwise affect property tax. We're very interested in doing that. The House has a select committee that's been established over the summer to study the issue, come up with proposals that the legislature can then consider in the 2026 session in January and February to, again, place those proposals on the ballot in November. But we don't have the ability unilaterally to pass a law from Tallahassee and say, property taxes are going to be reduced by X amount. We can do that with sales tax. That has been part of the budget conversation. That is one of the sticking points, although there have been proposals, and the House Appropriations Chairman has said that the House is open to a budget that doesn't include a recurring sales tax reduction, but then we would want to see the funds that we would otherwise return to the taxpayer be diverted into the rainy day fund rather than just be spent to spend it. So those are the conversations ongoing. There's other tax cuts that we're looking at. For example, the business rent tax is a tax that myself and a lot of others have long had their eye on as something that we want to get rid of in Florida. I'm sure John is smiling along in the studio there. But this is something that is Florida's the only state in the nation that assesses sales tax on business rent. The legislature has slashed it over the last several years from 6% where it was down to 2%. We want to eliminate it entirely. So that's just one example. There are other examples of other places that we can cut taxes outside of a recurring sales tax reduction. But we do want to make sure that we're not spending more than we need, that we're not taking in more than we need, and we're leaving tax dollars where they belong, which is in the pockets of taxpayers.
So the top line budget is the first thing you have to agree on, right? All the governor, the Senate, and the House, you have to say, okay, this is what we have to work with, and then battle it from there. But is there any agreement? I saw something where maybe today there might be an agreement on the top line budget. Is that true?
I haven't heard definitively that there is an agreement. There was an agreement, as you noted, that there was an agreement in principle that fell apart, for lack of a better term. So we're working to get back to that top line number. And, that's a really big piece of this puzzle. It's not the only piece. After that, we have to get to specific subject matter allocations and we got to get into the line items. But the top line number is a big part. And so I have not heard that there's an agreement yet. But I like I said, this is an issue that we're hard at work on.
Okay. Our chamber president, John Phillips, you got a question?
Yeah, I just got a couple. I am the guy who's never going to be in favor of raising taxes or anything. But at the same time, we've got no state income tax. We're talking about reducing property tax. We're talking about reducing sales tax. We're talking about eliminating a lot of the tourist development taxes. But at the same time, I also know, and I'll throw it back over to our school board member, I know our schools are challenged right now because the number of kids that are leaving public school for other alternatives, and the head count is how you get your budget. And so, again, I'm not in favor of raising taxes where it's not necessary. But man, I know our school system, both here in Flagler County, but also I read the paper, Volusia County, very shorthanded as well. And I can imagine it's probably at almost every county across the state. So it's not like we're just overflowing with money and we can give it all back, because there are definitely some shortages that we and then beach renourishment. How about that? We're worried about that here in the coastal area. So it's a challenge. I get it. It's not as easy as I'm trying to make it sound, but at the same time, I do know that there are some shortcomings that we're looking at. So hopefully we can find the right balance to do the things we need to do to continue our great education here in Flagler County and throughout the state.
Janie Ruddy is here, our school board member. You've got Sam Greco on the line. Comments, questions? What's your take on it? You're looking out for our school system for sure.
Yeah, there's so many questions to dig into on this, and I concur. We're very fortunate in Florida, just in relation to our property taxes. It adjusts based upon your house value. It's still much lower than many of our northern neighbors. We don't have local and state income tax. So we already have a very light tax burden relative to other states. But yet our teachers are paid 50th in the country. And combining that with, for example, the former House Bill 5101 and Senate Bill 7030 that passed, that is going to additionally impact funds for what we grade schools on. That's the ACE programs, the IB programs. And I sat down with our CFO to see exactly that impact on our budget, and it is going to impact that budget. But yet that is how we are graded in a school system. And additionally, you're right, we do have an increasing number of students who are opting for homeschool, private school. And in this last year, I did an analysis looking at all the counties in the state in terms of how much money did they lose to this voucher program, because it comes out of our budget, right? And so when you look at the 10 counties at the top end of the scale in terms of median income and 10 counties at the bottom end of the scale in terms of median income, the vast majority, 80% of the wealthiest counties had the most money taken out of those school systems, which tells you that voucher, homeschool, privatization, family empowerment scholarship fund is really benefiting those who already have money. So we in Flagler here are in the middle. Our median income is right there in the middle. And, while we're not devastated with losses because we have excellent schools, and I would be the first one to advocate for removing students from failing schools, we do not have failing schools in this county.
Do you have, Sam, in Tallahassee, let's go, because she brings up a point with the voucher system. It used to be pretty simple. The rich kids went to private school and everybody else, we went to public school, and few of the Catholic kids went to Catholic school. It was pretty much the way it was. Now, of course, with the whole voucher thing and at home and charter schools and all these different choices and things, is it working out, I guess, from the state's point of view, not just Flagler County, but overall, is this a good thing, the whole vouchers and freedom of education?
I believe so, and I'd say that is certainly the consensus in the legislature. These are new programs. We're certainly watching them to see how we can improve them and tweak them and make sure that they're working as best as possible for students and families. But at the end of the day, we want students to have, and parents to have the ability to send their kids to the school where they feel that they can get the best education and the education most tailored to that individual. And we want to make sure that when parents make that choice, that they have the financial ability to make that choice.
Well, go ahead.
No, continue.
Well,
and David, I'm sorry, I do have to hop off in just a couple minutes here, but
okay. All right, well, we'll continue the conversation, but so give us a final wrap-up here, because I appreciate the time you give us every other week here, Sam, and reporting in. That just means a lot to all of us here in Flagler and Volusia and St. Johns County, and we get a lot of good sound bites off you, so appreciate it. So kind of like a wrap it up here, what's going on with you? And next week or today, what do we hope to have accomplished?
Well, like we talked about, I think the next big thing that we want to see is that top-line budget number. And once we get that, then my focus will continue to be where it has been, but to make sure that our priorities for the district stay in the budget. We've done a very good job so far, that a number of our big-ticket items have made it to this point, which is great, but we're not over the finish line. And once we get that top-line number and then we get those allocations, we need to make sure, and certainly this will be my focus, is making sure that those appropriations stay in the budget. A number of the bills that I sponsored have made it to the desk. I have 5 bills that made it to the governor's desk. 2 of them the governor signed into law, and the other 3 I'm optimistic that he will do so in short order here. So happy to see that happening as well. But Otherwise, we're just looking to land a plane on the budget.
All right, very good. We'll let you go. Final comments, Janie, ready for Sam Greco?
Yeah, I think one of the statements that Mr. Greco said was that he said he believes that the school choice program is working, and that's my fundamental argument. I don't have a problem with competition, but it needs to be measured. We don't have data that is required of homeschooling or private schools in terms of the same assessments and accountability. And if you look at really why did this come about? I think the origins were very altruistic, making sure that there's competition in the schools, and I accept that, and we will rise to that occasion. However, when you look at where does this, all of a sudden, this generous amount of money for these family empowerment scholarships come from? When did we have a giant social activism thing happen at the Capitol? No. All of a sudden, billions of dollars are coming in from this.
Okay.
If you look at where this money is coming from, the backers are Betsy DeVos, Jeff Yoss, who has his wealth in ByteDance and TikTok, as well as the Walton family, who all have one thing in common. They have investments in charter private schools as well as educational technology, and they have a common belief that there should be little to no taxes.
Okay, quickly, we got to let him go.
Absolutely.
John Phillips.
Yeah, my last comment, Sam, appreciate all the great work that you're doing up there. Originally, we had next Friday scheduled to have our end of the session luncheon with you and Senator Leak. Obviously, we've had to postpone that, so look forward to working with you and your staff to find a date probably toward the latter part of July where we can get back together and recap everything that finishes once we get it across the finish line there in Tallahassee. But thanks again for all your great work.
All right, Sam, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Good to talk with you.
Hey,
Enjoy the weekend
thanks
and
for
happy
serving.
Memorial Day.
And thank you for your service to our country and also right now, and have a great Memorial weekend. Enjoy, hopefully, time with your family.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Happy Memorial Day, and thanks to all who served.
All right, take care. All right, we're going to take a break. We will be back. Ooh, I love that. Janie Ruddy letting it fly here. We're going to talk about all that. As we speak, the governor is speaking right now in Kissimmee to the National Convention for Homeschool. These are some of the competitors we're talking about. We'll be right back.
That's the way you do it. You play the guitar on MTV.
He's Carla.
The following
That's
programs
Alan.
contain
If you
information.
don't know who we are,
Now you do.
we're the owners of your local Benjamin Moore paint store.
Next time you're thinking about painting, think about us. Benjamin Moore, corner of Old Kings and Utility Drive.
Palm Coast.
Locals know where locals go.
For the best happy hour on the beach every day from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. You'll love these drinks.
Johnny D's Beach Bar and Grill. We're waiting for you.
All units prepare to copy the following important message. If you are an active or retired law enforcement officer from any federal, state, county, or city agency, you may qualify to become a member of the Fraternal Order of Police in Flagler County. Come join us to experience the camaraderie of this noble profession. Go to FOPLodge171.org or call 386-585-3847, 386-585-3847, and leave a message.
We're back, Free for All Friday, Memorial Weekend, May 23rd. Brian McMillan with all the activities we'll be talking about for the weekend to get out and pay tribute to those who have given the ultimate sacrifice to what we're living a great life on right now, right, Janie Ruddy?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, you let it fly a little there with Sam Greco and some good points to it, okay? But I was watching Governor DeSantis live from Kissimmee and speaking at the, what is it, the homeschool national, whatever they are, the homeschoolers, but a whole bunch of people there, big convention. And do you feel that the public schools are under attack by, you just mentioned, Bezos and some of these other guys that have a big interest in charter schools? That, is the public school system in Florida, in Flagler County, under attack? Because you lost 400 students this year, right?
Yeah, over the course of this program, about 1,700 total last year, equaling $10.6 million. As I said, I don't have a problem with choice, but it should be informed choice, and that's what we're lacking here. Homeschool, private school, does not have to comply with the same requirements nor testing requirements. If a student who is homeschooled, in order to measure their competency, it is voluntary to take those state assessments. It's voluntary for private schools. Other than health and safety for a private school, there's very little regulation. So if we want to ensure that parents can make the right choice for their child, then there should be no qualms about putting data against data. And the public schools have been doing this for decades now. We're not afraid of looking at our data. We're not afraid of evaluating every year and trying to find better ways to educate students. And we've been held accountable for decades for that, even to the point on the individual teacher now, where in our state, their contract is now annual. And if they have one demerit, a needs improvement on their annual evaluation, they could be let go without any further explanation. So there is high accountability in our public schools.
So on this here, you're giving us logical reasons why people should stay in public schools. Okay. But see, us as human beings, Brian's tired of me hearing this, but we don't do things logically. We do things emotionally and then justify them with logic. The governor is on the air right now broadcasting saying that the DEI, the woke, all this kind of crap that infiltrated into the culture of the public schools just turned parents' stomachs to the culture. And it's not so much a no, I don't want my kid to go to that, is they don't want to be a part of the, what he said, the nonsense in the public school system. They don't want their kids tied up with all this, kids, going to school, dressed like the furries and all these different and litter boxes in the bathrooms and things. And it is such as a minor part of all that it really was, or whether it was true or not. Parents look at it like, why would I be sending my kids to this when I can control their education better and get them a better education without all these crazy distractions about what books should or shouldn't be and all that. So how do you respond to parents that say, I agree with you, Janie Ruddy, that the public schools are good with all this kind of stuff, but I don't want to have them be a part of that culture that has been created over the last several years with the whole DEI and woke thing?
I'm not familiar in terms of the years that I've spent on a school campus, seeing what you're referring to. They're using something very emotional to act like that's the norm in the school systems, right? Children, right, as part of their growing and maturity, buck the norms, and that's a good thing. In terms of DEI, I guess I would ask for example, I just went to my daughter's college graduation, graduated UF in environmental engineering.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
and
exciting.
I heard a gentleman behind me say, "Oh, wow, there's a lot of girls who just graduated. Used to be all guys in engineering." And why is that? We promoted equity, access, recognizing talent in girls to go into STEM fields. What was bad about that?
Well, I don't think anybody's saying there's anything bad about that.
But isn't that part of DEI, right? Diversity in our different facets of our
But
jobs.
I mean, way before even heard the letters DEI, women have made huge, everybody know. I think that's like, we're way past that point that, women should be at home and doing dishes or something. Oh yeah.
I will share with you on the campaign trail.
Okay.
I had an interaction at the Veterans Park here where I was talking to a young woman, and she was a mother, and we were having this same discussion. And she said that she would be a proponent to have the 13th Amendment repealed. So there is this idea that, or a resurgence in some, right? These are all small factions. But if we aren't consistently advocating and ensuring that it's protected, then we can lose it. It's interesting, right? Because these arguments we have here in the United States about this education, this is a luxury. What we still don't realize is there are people worldwide that are not allowed to attend education because they're female, that have been tried to be killed for trying to attend school, and that we have an education system that is still the envy of the world, K through 12. Many other countries do not provide that. And so this is a luxury to have this conversation, but if we aren't good stewards about protecting it, and really this Memorial Day weekend, what was the reason why we started public education for which the world has modeled after? It was to create an informed public. Because if you're going to be a part of the democracy, you must be informed. And so it is part of our pride as United States citizens to ensure that we have excellent education programs that have accountability, which homeschool currently and private does not. I would push that our legislature should require minimum curriculum expectations just like they do for public schools.
Okay. Brian McMillan has got his hand up here and jumping up and down. So take it from there, Brian.
No, I have 5 children. They're all Flagler schools. They're all happily, being educated or have been educated in Flagler schools, and I think it's been a great experience. So I have no complaints, and I have never been tempted to homeschool my kids. I do have one good friend who she pulled her kids out of the schools and was very upset about the lack of enforcement of things that she perceived as bullying, which I know the school district has a mandated definition, and it's got to have all these different requirements to say that's bullying or that's not. But there's a lot of chatter, at least on social media, I'm sure you've seen it, where, my kid was being picked on to the extreme, and then my kid's the one that got moved because of all the regulations and things like that. And I think that that perception of, the difficulty of just having like a safe environment, there are some people who pull their kids for that reason, and they're doing their best they can with their education, but it's like it's not even an option to like keep sending the kid back to the school that they perceive as is not really doing very much to help that situation. So my question is, whatever the facts are, what could Flagler schools do to change that? Because I do think that there's some kind of reputation about that. Again, I see the chatter on social media, which I hate to put a whole lot of stock in, but it does give a little bit of the pulse of it. But I think that there is a perception, at least, of that Flagler schools is kind of like either turning somewhat of a blind eye to bullying problems, or just maybe it's so big that there's not much you can do about it. So is there some kind of a, could the schools do a better job of that?
Yeah, thank you for raising this question.
Yeah.
In fact, right now, we just completed, our policies in our schools is us. Our school is a reflection of our community. We guide, we vote on things, we provide input, down to the curriculum, to the behavior program. So we just put out a survey about our school and discipline behavior, and I was actually looking forward to seeing what are these critical issues regarding bullying cases. Out of 18,000 students, how many parents and
18,000 students?
I'm sorry, what is it, 13,000, sorry.
Yeah, something like that.
Out of 13,000 students were invited, teachers were invited, parents were invited. Guess how many responses we received?
500.
I don't know, 200.
147.
Okay.
And of those 147, less than 10% tagged it as a bullying concern. So,
what is the definition
sounds like
of
we don't have very good data yet.
Well, let's clearly identify what bullying is, because it's always gone on. I mean, back into the Little Rascals, on TV, you had, do you remember that? Or somebody else does. Like, well, what is that?
I might be the old guy that can remember that.
There was Butch the Bully, and it's part of human society, and there's lessons learned. But so what is the official definition of bullying? Some people think, it's somebody picking on somebody or whatever. So what is it?
There's a detailed definition,
what is
and
it?
I do not have it memorized by heart, but there is
repeated, malicious, and there's a power struggle.
As well as harassment. And I think sometimes we use bullying and harassment interchangeably.
Yeah.
And there is a definition on the state level, but also, we always go above in Flagler County. So it has to be repeated. Generally, there's a power issue. There has to be harassment, or it could be harassment. But and we have multiple avenues where bullying can be reported anonymously. And it is our legal requirement to investigate every case. What parents, however, sometimes don't realize is they expect, hey, and you should stand up for your child. You want them to be protected. They have a right to a safe environment. If I say, hey, Johnny is picking on my student, there is an investigation. We have cameras on the schools. We take all sorts of ancillary information. However, they expect a full report about all of the things consequences Johnny faced. We do not do that. That is a protected information for that child. So just because you don't see or hear what were the consequences, it does not mean that there weren't consequences. And I think that's a fine distinction. And that's what I hear is the biggest issue, right? Parents understand kids are going to be kids. They're going to do thoughtless things. Yes, you should advocate for them. You should protect your students. You should report that bullying if you feel that it was, even if you're just, this might be, right? It's better to be safe than sorry. But they expect to see this giant display. What's different for us, right, is that, yes, every child, even when they make mistakes, has a right to an education. And so unless it's to a particular extreme where there are students who have been arrested, right, they are dealt with.
So, okay, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this because there's a lot of other things that I wanted to talk about with you. But it is an issue because that's an emotional issue. If your kid, comes home crying or doesn't feel safe or has got bruise it or whatever to it, of course that's a concern. But like I say, it's not something new. I think the calling it out is a lot more today than it used to be, because it used to be, he did what? Yeah, Johnny punched me. Well, tomorrow you go back to school and you kick his butt, in the playground, and that was how it was settled. And a lot of times those two became friends.
Yeah, but I think it's a good evolution because of we see that many of the violence in schools, right? Some of these mass casualties, the individuals who started them often were outsiders, were bullied. So, and that's part of why we take it so seriously. In terms of, Brian, what you said, what could we do better? One of the things that I have advocated for, and again, as an individual school member, I don't have power as one, right? We must come to this as a group. Is I do disagree with the requirement that there must be power over another individual. You're talking about 9-year-olds. What kind of power? Their peers, right? And so I think sometimes that kind of complicates some of the bullying matrix. And so I would like to see some changes in that. And that's particularly what I'm looking to see in terms of the survey that and feedback that was provided from the community.
I really appreciate those thoughts. And one last thing I would say is that we did a story in the Observer maybe a year or two ago, but the school district's own data was saying something like it was in the single digits of bullying cases out of 13,000. And that seemed kind of almost laughable that there would be only, say, 6 bullying cases in a year. So it does seem like it doesn't really pass the kind of smell test that, that bullying is being addressed in those ways. But it's real hard. It's a real hard thing. But I do think that I sympathize with the parents who feel like they really can't do much, about it. And I think sometimes they pull their kids, maybe not even, and it may not be the best thing for their education. as far as their development, for their own brain and everything else.
All right.
But
All right.
I'll stop,
Brian.
All right,
I'm going to bully you here and
All right.
say, all right, Brian, file a complaint. Anyway, but here, I am a big fan of public schools, all right? And I think that cultural interactions with a wide variety of people, as some of them are the weirdos and some of them are they're the smart and everything like that, I think that's healthy because that prepares you for the real world. Mm-hmm. I think if you don't like because your kid was picked on, you put him in homeschool, I think that's not doing a good thing because you got to learn how to deal with that if you're in real life, right? Kelsey, you raised your hand. Go ahead.
I did. So I'm a mom of 5, and my kids are in public school as well. And I do find that I agree with you, Brian, a little bit with that aspect. But I also think it's a very big verbal thing nowadays with the words that they're coming up with to use.
Social media bullying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I also do think, like, my high schooler right now, he's in the IB program, and I think that what he's getting out of that, he wouldn't be able to get at home. The Diploma Plus program that they have, those programs aren't accessible at home.
So it's like, and the competition of competing with a wide variety of people sharpens. I mean, what's the whole purpose of school is to prepare you for the real world, to go out there and make it on your own and raise your own family and educate your kid. I mean, that's what it's all about to it. But to overly protect kids from that, and a lot of parents do feel that way. Yeah. I don't. I think that's why I'm a fan of public schools. The sports they offer, the after-school programs that it offers, and the variety of classes and things. And to me, there's nothing more valuable than having a teacher in a classroom communicating human to human and not some AI type thing online. So that's where all my grandkids here in Flagler County are in public schools or graduated from them and everything. And sure, they had their problems, but they, competed in sports and after-school programs and all that, and they're all doing very well. So
I would feel a lot better about the choice, freedom movement if there was just as much emphasis on, okay, but we want to make the public schools as supported and as strong as possible. And I feel like sometimes the tone, at least from the state, is, okay, we're going to keep, making it harder and harder for the public schools, and you guys better figure out how to, to be as competitive as you can. We should, as a society, be trying to make that happen together and not just kind of say, good luck. That's what the tone feels like, at least sometimes.
Well,
that's kind of frustrating.
Janie, don't you think, though, that the public schools never used to be challenged like they are? Even right now, when I was hearing the governor talking, and he probably still is, I mean, he was like saying how great homeschool and all this and the voucher program. It was almost like an anti-public school message. Yeah. And to me, the public schools need to do a better job in telling their story to the public to offset, because what makes it into the news is the negative stuff. I mean, here we are talking about bullying.
Lots of good news in here.
Look at the Observer.
So, I mean, Brian, for example, the voucher for a minimum, a family is going to get $8,000 for a student. That is pretty much equivalent to what we get from the state to educate that child. However, we don't get to spend all that $8,000 on only the curriculum, right? We've got facilities, we've got teachers to pay, we've got behavioral counselors, all of these things, right? So there is a disproportion there. However, what I'm probably concerned is the long term. What is the state's guarantee that money is going to be there for parents long run? Are they going to decrease those funds at some point? They decrease our funds, right, when we're in a recession and we have our property taxes based upon our home values. That took a big hit in the Great Recession. So, there's some concerns there. I don't, again, with the homeschooling, it's more about having equity in the requirements and the competency measures. In addition, and I'm interested to hear from the chamber president, when we all of this bore out was, hey, we want to have some common standards. If I live in Texas, if I live in Florida, if I live in New York, business should say students should have this particular competency. We should know, no matter what state you're coming in from, what they should know if they have a high school diploma. So then it went to, the government is trying to indoctrinate our students with Common Core. We are the government, right? Their curriculum review is open to parents. We can provide feedback to what that curriculum is. But now we're almost gone the 100% opposite way, 180 degrees, where we're saying you can homeschool or privatize school for your child, and there is no requirement. If you want to teach whatever you want to teach them is okay. And so I'm interested to hear what you're concerned with in businesses on the impact of that in 10 years.
Yeah, the businesses that I speak to, and I feel the same way, is that curriculum and decisions for schools should be made at the local level. There is some state governance, but there also should be county governance in Flagler County. And I'm not sure that having the same standards in Florida versus Montana versus California versus New York is necessarily the right decision. I think that's more of a local decision, in my opinion, and that's what I've heard from most of the businesses. Because our industry and our businesses here in Florida are different than other parts of the country, so they want to control a little more locally would be my response.
Are we talking about, because the quality of public schools is a huge thing with economic development. Mm-hmm. Businesses are going to move here. They want to know that am I going to have a continued labor force coming out of the schools? And Flagler County schools are awesome with their classrooms to careers programs and the integration with businesses, with what LaShaka is doing.
Yeah, I would agree completely there.
So I think that weighs to what you're saying, is because now we're local, because like we have aerospace right here in our backyard, and they don't have it in Montana. So I think if we put more emphasis toward classes and getting kids motivated to...
Yeah, not every kid is going to go to college, so the workforce development is really critical, and it can really vary. If you are in a more agricultural state like Kentucky, for example, maybe they need more welders and they need more agriculture folks, as opposed to other parts of the country. If you're in Southern California, they're not having a massive agricultural, educational program. But I think one of the things, to spin this back to the very positive thing, because I don't want anybody listening to this show to think that Flagler County schools are struggling, because our schools are excellent. Our schools are excellent in placing kids who desire to go to college into higher education. They're also excellent at workforce development. We were able to be part of the ribbon cutting over at Matanzas High School maybe a week or 10 days ago, their new media center and the new areas. How incredible was it to walk? One of the first places I walked into was a woodworking area over there. And I mean, the amazing equipment that they have there, the amazing equipment in their media center to do videos and audio and social media and things like that. What amazing technology that we are teaching kids skills. And I think we need to continue to do that, not just at the high school level. I know obviously we've got our school board member here, so we're all about Flagler County schools. But let's give a shout out to Daytona State College and their Advanced Technology Center, which is a little bit south of here in Volusia County, but it's close enough. Plus, we have the Daytona State College campus here. We've got wonderful education surrounding Flagler County. There's not as many higher education places in Flagler County, but if you go south to Bethune-Cookman, to Embry-Riddle, to Stetson, go north to Flagler College, go north to UNF, go north to Jacksonville University. Very close to the west, you can go to the University of Florida, and UCF is less than 2 hours away. We have got wonderful higher education here. And then some of the more career-based stuff like Kaiser University, and then down in Daytona Beach, one of the premier chiropractic colleges in Palmer Chiropractic. We have got wonderful educational systems at the high school and at the higher levels surrounding us here in Flagler County, and we need to continue to advocate for that, because that is one of the things that businesses look for. If I'm going to relocate here, my employees might have kids. Are they going to get a good education? And the answer is absolutely yes.
So this is the conversation that more parents need to hear. That and also, we're not broke, by the way. I don't, all the schools with all these kids leaving. We got the Flagler County. What do you have? $155 million budget, something like that.
Yes. However, 83% of that is required in order to keep teacher salaries and benefits, as well as comply with the teacher salary adjustment statute, as well as we're required to keep a minimum of 3% for reserve. However, it's better to be in the 6 to 8% range. I believe last measure we were around the 8%, maybe 6%. So, I know it seems like a lot, right? But, we have to contribute to the Florida retirement system. The health care has been astronomical, right? And I was a proponent to find some alternatives to protect our school district from exorbitant costs. And Mr. Ouellette has gone down that path to set up some partnerships, which would, it looks like initial quick kind of napkin math could save us $1 million. But it is just the majority of our budget is staff.
Explain this to me. Okay, impact fees, builder impact fees, they got to, all these new houses are being built, new people are coming in. These impact fees are earmarked to build new schools when, in fact, we've had no growth in our schools for 10, 11, 12 years, and there's no projected growth. So all this money sits in an interest-bearing account for the school system, millions and millions of dollars, right? Impact fee money?
Some of it, not all of it. Not all of it is required to be held for a new building, right? We had to spend millions of dollars to overhaul the HVAC at FPC. So that is supposed to also help provide the upkeep of our capital infrastructure for students who are placed in where they're developing.
I thought it had to only be spent on expansion.
No, there's definitely buckets that does not have to be specifically. I've seen some light items. I can go back and review that, obviously. And Patty Warmack has been an excellent resource to guide my understanding. It's a lot of rules and regulations, but no, there's for example, improvements. HVAC could be an improvement. Right, it doesn't have to be new, but I can definitely go back and
what about
uncover more on that.
Can you use it for teacher raises?
No.
No, okay. I thought that would be it. Hey, we got to take a real quick break, and we're going to be back with some closing comments. We're going to let Kelsey give a pitch to why your business should join the Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to wrap it up here with some closing comments with Janie Ruddy. It's been fun talking to you, and on this Memorial weekend, May 23rd, and Brian's got some things happening around town you should get out and do. We'll be right back.
This is Pastor Charles Solano. Here's a few food facts that might surprise you. There are over 135,000 people living in Flagler County. Many families go hungry because of health and various financial hardships. Every month, our food pantry gives 6,500 families a $150 box of food. If you do the math, 150 times 6,500 is almost $1 million a month that can be spent locally on other needs. Thank you for donating to the $1 Million Foodathon. Go to gracecommunityfoodpantry.org.
Now you can watch all the Palmco City Council meetings live on TV wherever you are.
This is a tactic to try to steal this seat from the mayor.
Know the facts.
You have comments that are not in reference to that investigation.
Don't believe everything you hear.
He has approved multiple building projects, which you, Mayor, had not. By any definition I've seen, I consider that malfeasance.
The Palmco City Council meetings now streaming video live on the WNZF Facebook page and on the Flagler Radio YouTube channel.
Hey, we're back. Memorial weekend. Great time to get out and enjoy your family. Celebrate the freedoms we have, thanks to those that gave it all for us here. Just take a few moments to kind of reflect on that. But we live in a great community, Flagler County, Palmco's, Bunnell, and Flagler Beach, and our new Margaritaville hotel is open. Janie, have you been out there to see it?
I've gone by it several times and enjoying time in Flagler Beach, but I haven't gone into the property yet.
Okay.
Looking forward to
You
that.
were at the grand opening, right, Kelsey?
Yes, we did their ribbon cutting there. We got a little sneak peek of the chill bar on the rooftop there and a few of the rooms, so it was very nice.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I think that's really cool. So we've got so many good things going on. We've got, the town center is coming alive with a lot of great things. The promenade.
Beautiful
mixed
use development there. The promenade, retail on the first floor, and residential above it, right between Flagler Palm Coast High School and City Hall.
Yeah.
If you haven't been by there recently, you need to come by. It's coming along. It's still a long ways out, but it's coming along with a lot more development there in the town center area. And again, real quickly about Margaritaville, I think what a perfect blend for us in Flagler Beach. Some folks are like, oh wow, we've got a nationally branded establishment in Flagler Beach. That's not what Flagler Beach is all about. The one thing I would just say is Manoj Bula and his family are a family-run business. Even though it's got the Margaritaville brand on it, that is going to be a family-run business, and I think it's the perfect fit for Flagler Beach.
Right. I do agree. You know, people don't like change, but then once it changes, they'll be the ones there enjoying the rooftop bar. Okay. All right. So John, go ahead and give us a quick rundown. What's going on with our Flagler, the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber of Commerce? What's up with that? And then we'll let Kelsey do the sales pitch on why local businesses should join.
Yeah, a lot of great things going on. And again, we are the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber, the only chamber in Flagler County. We serve Bunnell, we serve Beverly Beach, we serve Flagler Beach, we serve Palm Coast, and we even serve the small number of folks up in Marineland. So we are the chamber for Flagler County. We love to support local businesses, and our job is to connect businesses to residents and residents to businesses to help everyone improve the quality of life here in Flagler County, and look forward to visiting with more folks, whether that's ribbon cuttings or our educational events. We've got one at the auditorium on June 20th. Stay tuned for more information about that, the Business and Entrepreneur Conference. It'll be a great day and a great opportunity.
All right, Kelsey Lombard, here it is. Let's hear it. Give us the pitch. Why should we join?
Well, we have a whole lot rolling out at the chamber now that John has gotten his feet wet and is finally on board fully. We have a new nonprofit rate. We want to let our members know that we heard you guys, and we're making that change for you. And also a small business membership coming through now, too, for businesses with 10 or less employees.
Okay.
So
all right.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a chamber, every good community has a good chamber of commerce. And I think, when you join a chamber, a lot of people are like, wow, what's in it for me? It's like, you're joining a bigger thing. It's like you're part of something that looks out for the whole community, not like, do I get a free pen and a gift basket when I join? So you got to look at the big picture to it, and the fact that you're contributing to an overall, because the chamber is present. We lobby for things. We, look out for the businesses, and you have an ear for it. So if a member has a concern about something, they can call up, come in, and talk to you about it, and we can go to bat for them.
Absolutely. You can go to our website, pcfchamber.com. You can pick up the phone and give us a call, or you can stop by and see us there at City Center. And we do advocate for the businesses. That is our job, is to connect businesses. And we feel like at the Chamber, we try to make 1 + 1 = 3, because we work together with synergy to help everyone.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
All right. Oh, okay. Very good. All right. Well, hey, we're way over time, but Brian, give us a rundown. I know the Observer has a lot of things that are happening Memorial Weekend, so
yeah. If you look at page 2B on the in the printed copy, or on the e-edition, you can get it on the website. One thing that's not necessarily Memorial Day, but today is the last day to get tickets to the Flagler Beach Centennial Dinner. So you can just go to cityofflaglerbeach.com and check that out. But there's going to be, tons of restaurants with food there and things like that to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the city of Flagler Beach.
So on this, the way I understand it, okay, is Bellhumor was telling me that. So when you buy a dinner for the Centennial, you're assigned a restaurant. And the restaurant, so all the restaurants, participate. It's not like one big buffet or something like that. So you're assigned one restaurant, and they make that dinner for you, and they deliver it. So therefore, it's not a big burden on any one restaurant or anything. So it's an individualized thing, is the way I understood it. And if that's not right, blame Rick Bellhumor.
Very cool. Yeah. So celebrating Flagler Beach. So as far as Memorial Day, there's 2 ceremonies that are traditional and happening again this year at 8 a.m. at Heroes Memorial Park, which is just west of the library on Palm Coast Parkway. And I just got this confirmation from the city that U.S. Rep. Randy Fine will be speaking there. That's kind of a new development. So Randy Fine will give a speech, and Teresa Pontieri will give a speech at that 8 a.m. Memorial Day City of Palm Coast event. You can also submit a name of one of your own loved ones that could be memorialized at that event, and you just go to the city website to do that. That's a new thing that they want to start, a kind of new tradition to read local names. And then 2 hours later, the Flagler County Memorial Day ceremony starts at 10 o'clock. This is at the Government Services Building on US or State Road 100. and Randy Fine will be there as well. And there's also a guest speaker, a retired U.S. Navy chaplain, Mark Schreiber, who did 25 years in the Navy and is a chaplain. So that'll be an interesting speech. He's also works with the DAV in Palm Coast, Disabled American Veterans Chapter. And then at 11:30, there's also a VFW barbecue picnic at the VFW on Old Kings Road. That goes from 11:30 to 3:30. So, lots of good stuff on Memorial Day to kind of keep focused on why we have that day and why we have so much of what it makes America a great place to live.
Check out the Observer. It's all there. Buy a subscription.
There you go.
How much is it?
It's $52 for the year to get it on your driveway every week. So.
All right. I like that. Janie, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, enjoy your weekend. Janie Ruddy, we give you the final word of wisdom to everybody in Flagler County and the world. And
save the wisest for last.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm not going to purport to be the wisest. No, I think my last message would be that the school system is not a separate entity. It's not an us versus them thing, right? The school system is us. It's a reflection of our community. We take input. We invite parents and community members to weigh in on curriculum and behavior. It is a reflection of us. So, we all need to work. There's always room for growth. And that's what we're here for. And that's my role, is to advocate for that. But really, ultimately, it's the final messages, and I think Ms. Moore had also stated this in the Flagler Live article. We're not afraid of competition, but it needs to be a fair, level playing field and the same data metrics.
All right. Well, thank you for being our school board member, and I'm happy to see the school board has really kind of gotten it together and doing a lot of great things and working together and getting along, and that means a lot. I think when people from the outside look at bringing a business here or something, they want to know that their governing leaders have a vision and work together and making it happen, and then that makes them want to be a part of it. So thank you for that, Will Furry and everybody else on there. Anyway, just appreciate it. Okay.
No, thank you. We're happy to serve.
All right. We're going to leave you with this one here. Chris Jansen, This Flag.
It stood proud on the bulge, flew across the Delaware. It turned